Today we're talking Battlefield Battle Royale. To be honest with you guys, I was never super interested in Battlefields. The last good Battlefield in my eyes is Battlefield 3 or Battlefield 1 if you really want to get technical. But the rumors that are coming out about Battlefield has me super excited, and I want to share with you guys all of the leaks and all the news that has to do with the new Battle Royale. Before we get into it though, you need to understand what they're targeting. In a recent interview, Battlefield said they want to have 100 million players over a set period, even when Battlefield titles in the past have peaked at 22 million for 2042, around 30 million for Battlefield 1. In a recent Technica investor interview, EA leadership said 100 million. That's the player count target for EA, established for Battlefield 6 over a set period of time, included post-launch. They directly compared their goals to the success of free Battle Royale models like Fortnite and Call of Duty. They said in quotes, EA hopes a free-to-play Battle Royale mode will help bridge the audience gap. So clearly, EA is taking notes from Warzone and Fortnite's playbook. Contracts, loadouts, supply drops, drones, all with the Battlefield touch. But the question is, can they pull it off and lure in 100 million players? Because in the same article that I got these quotes from was also talked about how the publisher currently is dealing with a lot of backlash, both in the culture clashes, ballooning budgets, and major disruptions that have left many team members working on Battlefield kind of worried that they're not going to be able to finish the game for player satisfaction in time for the launch. Things like campaign may be lacking, and we need to take a real look at whether or not this game can be successful. Let's unpack everything that's been data mined and leaked so far. But before we do, let me just say 80% of my viewers are not subscribed. So do me the favor, hit the subscribe button and like the video. First off, there's been a 6-second video that showed a CH-47 Chinook dropping players over a map that appears to be California. And a lot of different people have already said from data mining that it is 100% a California-based Battle Royale. And according to data miners, the zones that are closing in are going to be a destructive ring called a compound NXC, which is an explosive gas, which I'm sure is going to act very similar to their previous Battle Royale, Firestorm, where it engulfs the area, but also you'll see destruction around you to the buildings nearby. Let's talk about what happens when you die in the Battle Royale. According to the leaks from Battlefield Labs, which if you don't know is the playtest for Battlefield's new game, eliminated players can redeploy their teams via a free redeploy shortly after drop. They can also interact with the map using remote cameras, drones, and turrets once teammates capture an oversight terminal. Think of oversight terminals kind of like a compound that you lock in a domination match. This will give you that extra edge to be able to still assist your alive teammates while you are not available to actually shoot and play alongside them. Some of the things that they're borrowing from Warzone is contracts and supply drops for custom loadouts, along with progressive match rewards, all inspired by Call of Duty. They're also apparently introducing a vehicle keycard system. Now, that might be a little controversial to a lot of players, and I am very curious how that's going to work when it's actually introduced, or if this decision will change later. But according to the leaks, vehicles will require a scrounging for keycards in the world. Once found, a deployment timer activates, leaving players vulnerable during deployment. Some of the expected vehicles that were seen in the code, but could just be left over from the other modes, is tanks, APCs, buggies, helicopters, jets, boats, amphibious vehicles, plus an engineer mobile spawn. Now, although it's unclear whether the Battle Royale will be a standalone free-to-play or integrated into the main Battlefield 6 experience, either model is possible. And let's not forget, if they want to borrow from both models, it might be best to be inspired by the Call of Duty leveling and have your game be promoted by leveling guns in the multiplayer mode and then be able to use them in the Battle Royale, especially if you're borrowing the loadout system already from Call of Duty. Now, I'd like to speak my mind on everything that I've read so far, because when it comes to Battle Royales, I think it's very important to have competition, because otherwise you will have a very boring game that doesn't continue to update and strive for success. Warzone, for instance, has not had any competition when it comes to the first-person Battle Royale world. You may point fingers at Apex Legends, but Apex has not really innovated either. They are very different games, and their audiences are not interested in each other. The closest I could compare is maybe Fortnite, and that is a third-person shooter, which Call of Duty is getting very inspired with, but only because of their microtransactions. They're stealing a lot of their ideas when it comes to bundles, but they're not innovating on the game itself. Warzone's earlier life had a ton of innovation with limited time modes, interesting weapons and metas, and POI changes that were actually fun. This time around, Warzone, with its second life in Verdansk, has been pretty boring. They've added one building to a POI, and even though that building is very massive, it is not that big of a deal to me and most players. We are now coming up on 5 months since Verdansk was introduced, and it is feeling like it is the same game it was 5 months ago. The only difference is the anti-cheat has gotten worse, which makes me wonder, can they actually maintain an anti-cheat? I personally don't play a ton of Battlefield. I just bought Battlefield 2042 for $3 on Steam, and I had people actually tell me, wow, you got scammed. So the question is their anti-cheat any good? If you're a Battlefield player, please let me know in the comment section because I truly am curious. Now, I spoke about this for a brief second in the beginning of the video, but the campaign apparently has gone through a lot of issues for Battlefield. So I want to talk about the big excerpt from this article from Ars Technica and talk about what exactly they said. So Ridgeline was responsible for the campaign in 2042 and is going to be responsible for the new game. So apparently in February in 2024, Ridgeline was shuttered. The Halo luminary Marcus Leto left the company, and the rest of the studio was left to pick up the pieces, which after review came not long after the studio was shuttered. Glacier's top leadership were dissatisfied with the progress they were saying, and the call was made. This is all, by the way, in the Ars Technica article. I'm reading it almost verbatim, so if you want to go check it out, I'll leave a link in the comment section. But sources in the EA teams outside of Ridgeline told Ars Technica that there weren't proper check-ins and the internal reviews on the progress, obscuring the true state of the project until their fateful review. And then on the other hand, those closer to Ridgeline described the situation in which a team couldn't possibly complete its objectives. Apparently, it was expected to hire and scale up from zero while also meeting the same milestones as established studios with resources already in place. And there's a quote here that says, they kept reallocating funds, essentially staff months, out of our budget. One person told Ars Technica, and again in quotes, and you know, we were sitting there trying to adapt to doing more with less. And then, of course, after the shuttering of Ridgeline, ownership of the single player shifted to 3 other EA studios. So it was Criterion, DICE, and Motive. They go on to quote a employee that said, there was essentially nothing left that Ridgeline had spent 2 years working on that they could pick up on and build. So they had to redo essentially everything from scratch within the same constraints of when the game had to release. Single player has been 2 years behind, and as of late spring 2025, it is still the only game mode that has failed to reach alpha, which is well beyond its original target. But I do know that this Battle Royale has piqued my interest, and I probably will play it on launch when it drops. And if EA is interested in flying me out or just letting me play a version of the game on my computer, I would love to give my feedback, and I'll sign any NDA that I need to sign. You just let me know. Because I do want some healthy competition in the FPS space. Are you excited for Battlefield's Battle Royale? Hit that subscribe button and like the video and let me know down below. And I'll see you guys in the next video.